Well, hello everybody. This is Tim Green with the Rattle Magazine. Welcome to the Rattlecast. We're the biggest freewheeling live stream poetry podcast on the planet, in your ears and on your laptops. The guest for episode number 311, Isabella DeSendi, is here. She'll be with us in a few minutes. But before we begin, I should say that Rattle is a publication of the Rattle Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit working to promote the practice of poetry. We've been in continuous publication since 1995 and are unaffiliated with any other organization. We just do all this because we love poetry. I know you do, so please do click on that like button and share. Make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell for notifications. Whatever you can do to help spread poetry around the internet would be much appreciated. Now we're going to start out with our Poets Respond poets, as we always do. And great Davidson Carroll is here with Sunday's poem, and we have a bonus poem that's coming out tomorrow. So 2 Poets Respond poets this week. We're going to talk to Gray first. Hey, Gray, how you doing?
Hi, Tim. I'm doing so well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to have you on. We have a poem of yours in the current issue too, which I loved, and then this poem was really powerful as well. Can you tell us, how the poem came to be, what inspired it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'm actually going to back up a couple weeks, and this is a story that involves Bella, just like a circuitous route to get there. So Bella had her book launch a couple weeks ago, and I went and Bella read the Disemboweling the Chicken poem that many of us on this call will have read. And I read that to my undergrad students Monday morning and gave them a prompt to write a poem that intertwined 2 different narratives. And then last week, my MFA cohort classmate, Seth Simons, who's downstairs in workshop right now, which I snuck out of to be on this podcast, was the Rattle Poets Respond Poet of the Week feature. And we read that poem at like the start of our day in class with my students on Monday. And then they had a prompt to write a poem that responded to a news event of the week, essentially to do Poets Respond. And I wrote this in a fit of anger, the poem that I'm about to read, Friday evening in about 30 minutes. It's called TIVE, which stands for Transgender Ideology-Inspired Violent Extremism, which is a term that the FBI is considering classifying trans folks writ large in the US as, at the behest of the Heritage Foundation. So I wrote that poem, then I sent it into you Saturday morning, Tim, and you were gracious enough to pick it up. So I read that poem to my students this morning, and they read their poems. And currently, I just 20 minutes ago, workshopped the poem that I wrote that came from Bella's Disemboweling the Chicken poem. So just like a really nice moment of some interweave, and it feels really special to be with you.
Oh, that is so cool. Yeah, such a small world. Great to hear that. I had no idea that Seth was down there in the in this conversation too. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and read this poem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
TIVE. Transgender ideology-inspired violent extremism. I wake up in the morning and I am a terrorist. I wash the dishes. I read the news. My hands are a terrorist's hands. My ears, a terrorist's ears. The underside of the right one, a bumpy ridgeline from where, as a child, my father cut me, trying to give me an unwanted haircut. I jog through the downtown of the city, and the sounds of my feet slapping the concrete are the sounds of a terrorist's feet. I go to my favorite coffee shop, where all the baristas are terrorists. There, I see my friend from the terrorist knitting group. He makes the most beautiful sweaters, always decorated with flowers. All the people I love most in my life are terrorists. At the terrorist bar, where all the drinks are named in honor of famous terrorists, we pull our hips into one another like a prayer. Our hips, too, are terrorist hips, finally learning how to hold sway. Each Sunday, I empty terrorism into myself at the end of a needle. Each day, I take a pill to metastasize the growth. I knew I was a terrorist when I was 8 years old. The same year, I found my grandfather's Glock in his nightstand, set the mouth against my mouth, thinking maybe, just for a second, I could taste the sound of salvation. And how many of my loves gone now for what in them the world was not brave enough to be? Trauma is so good for poetry, someone says. After the reading where I spoke about my friend stabbed to death inside her home. You killed it up there, they said. You fucking killed that shit. And it's true. Language is the best weapon for killing at the root. My terrorists, I love each and every one of my terrorists. My terrorists sing gospel. My terrorists have children. My terrorists are found in the gutter each morning. Skin turned blue, etched all over with red and white. No one wants to look at a dead terrorist. No one wants to hear a terrorist's sobs. When my lovers and I touch, we touch with the fervor of a terrorist's wanting. Our mouths are wide and open, fingers cocked, ready to release.
Yeah, such a powerful poem. That was Gray Davidson Carroll with TIVE, T-I-V-E. Really wonderful reading of it too, Gray. The performance aspect of it was one of the things that stands out. I love when we get a chance to have poems to publish that are so performable, and that's a really great one. I'm so glad you could write it and share it with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm not glad I wrote it.
Yeah, well, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thanks so much for sharing that, and take care.
Yeah, thank you. Be well.
Yeah. So that was Gray Davis and Carroll once again with Sunday's poem. And now we're going to move to tomorrow's poem, an extra poem from Poets Respond. And Colleen Farrelly is here. No one's read this poem yet, so it's one of those we get to preview. Hi, Colleen. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm great. So it's dark. It's dark there, and maybe we should tell everybody why.
So I am in Miami, Florida, and my poem is actually about what I'm dealing with right now, which is a rare effect of two hurricanes that are in close proximity to each other. So it's a little bit dark here to conserve some power. But yeah, weather is pretty interesting. And yeah.
Well, do you want to go ahead and read the poem?
Sure. Weathering the storm. The Fujiwara effect suggests that storm systems in close proximity feed off each other's energy unpredictably. Two storm systems might clash or combine or canoodle until bursting apart like twin flames. Alone in my lab, I rerun my models and watch the pair turn and twist in do-si-do until both bounce towards other states. Chaotic orbits. I text back my ex.
Yeah, so really wonderful, Hyben. And you mentioned in the note that you work as a mathematician working on these systems in tracking hurricanes, I guess. Did I understand that right?
Not in tracking hurricanes so much, but I am a mathematician. I actually straddle literature and mathematics and use mathematics at Tilke to evolve narrative structures and storylines in branching narratives. And I work on epidemics as well, looking at forecasting for Ebola epidemics and other outbreaks.
Well, that's really fascinating and really interesting science behind this poem. How did you know it was going to be a Hyben? Is that a form that you often write? You know, it's a form we're seeing more and more, which is a lot of fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the main form that I write. I'm pretty active in the haiku community, and it's great to see Hyben in your journal and Hyben appearing on some of your Rattlecasts.
Yeah, well, definitely, we love it, and me and Kate are doing a class on it in a couple of weeks, and we have our own books we're putting out, and it's really fun. It's just such a great form, so I'm so glad to see it flourish and more of them coming along, including this great one, which has such a really fun leap involved in it. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, given especially the circumstances. Yeah, thanks so much, Colleen.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. That was Colleen Farrelly with a tomorrow's poem on Poetry Respond, Weathering the Storm. That's going to be a daily poem. If you subscribe to Rattle by email, you get a poem in your inbox every morning at about, what time? 6:30 a.m. on East Coast. Anywhere else around the world. And if you like a poem like that, like Colleen Farrelly's Weathering the Storm, or Gray Davidson's Carroll poem from before, poems from Rattle, all you got to do is go down to the bottom of the page at rattle.com, click on that sign up for our daily poem link, and then receive a new poem in your inbox every morning. Also, if you have poems about current events, we're always trying to make poetry as relevant as possible to contemporary life, and that means involving in the national discourse, international discourse, and so that means sending poems in about current events, anything that's going on that you want to write about and have a poetic response. Just submit those by midnight on Friday, and we'll get one of those poems at least published on Sunday that week. So we'll keep poetry relevant that way by being timely. And I'm going to take a quick break and go to our main guest, Isabella DeSendi. So sit tight, and we'll be right back with a whole bunch more poetry. And we're back. Thanks so much for your patience. Like I said, today's guest is Isabella DeSendi. Isabella is a Latina poet and educator and a finalist for the 2023 Rattle Poetry Prize. Her debut poetry collection, Someone Else's Hunger, is just out from Four-Way Books. Her chapbook, Through the New Body, won the Poetry Society of America's Chapbook Fellowship and was published in 2020. Recently, she has been named a 2025 New Jersey Poet Fellow, a finalist for the Ruth Lilly Fellowship, and was included in the 2024 Best New Poets Anthology, among other awards. She currently lives in Hoboken, New Jersey, and here she is, Isabella DeSendi. Hey, Isabella, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun so far tonight.
Yeah, well, it's my favorite thing we get to do, like meeting poets and hanging out and sharing great poems every week. It's really fun, and I've been looking forward to your book for 2 years, I guess, like literally, because you submitted 2 years ago to the Rattle Poetry Prize, and it was you get 4 poems to submit there, and it's really pretty rare, weirdly enough, there's 4 great poems in a packet, but there were
well, I remember feeling so honored that you guys saw something in the work that was worthy of publishing, and you were one of the first people, if not the first people, to tell me, like, whatever you're doing, keep going. And I'm so grateful for that, because as poets, like, we never get that kind of response or that feedback or then that motivation we live for. It keeps us sustained for years, you know, and the poems that I did submit eventually ended up in here. So thank you for just that, speaking that life into me.
Yeah, well, it's really, it's true. We were reading the submissions, and we separate them out. So the poems are by themselves, but everybody has the same number for the same poet. So we're like, oh, wait a minute, this is poet number 392 again. And then we realized that, and we're like, this is going to be a great book. And so here the book is after all the waiting. So do you want to start out by reading one of those poems, actually? This was published somewhere else. We published 2 poems from that packet, but it was such a good packet. This is the opening poem, Once While Disemboweling the Chicken, to start off the book.
Sure, I'd love to start with this one. Um, I like to read this one because I think of it as a sort of self-mythology that frames or introduces a lot of the themes that come up in the book. So yeah, this is, and the only thing I think you need to understand is that my abuela was a priestess. She practiced Santeria, which involves some animal sacrifice. And I was really, while writing this book, interested in the way that oftentimes sacrifice or violence, mutilation of a living thing is often a prerequisite to prove one's like worth or dedication or love to their God or their deity. And in similar ways, I think we practice that art of surrender here on earth with our loved ones too and stuff. So, anyways, this is once while disemboweling the chicken. Once while disemboweling the chicken, readying it for my lover's dinner, I remembered my abuela slashing the rooster's throat. I was 4, held the wet blade in my hand, and cried. For days, the carcass hung like a cross over the red front door until it shriveled and stunk, turned gray as dried petals. Abuela said, "Don't cry." She said, "Be fearless and God-fearing as any white man." So I became just like guajiros carving the air with bright machetes. At home, in school, in America, razors slept in our socks like small slick moons, and hydrangeas bloomed despite the heat while I became a woman. For 20s, my tios chopped weeds with green machines spinning big metal mouths filled with hot blades. You must praise the Lord with your body, Abuela said. You must give yourself over as Santeros do, without doubt. At every ceremony for Dios, I held the white cloth in my hands like a soul. Abuela slashed the bird like a man unbothered. I thought the trick to surviving this country was to be good or beautiful or merciless like its people. But choosing didn't matter. Soon I'd be pinned on a bed like an animal while someone else's hunger made a sacrifice of me. Of course, I tried to fight him off. But Abuela's birds taught me when your arms are pinned behind your back, there's no chance of breaking free. Across the neck, she motioned, like this, as she slid the blade and prayed and ate. How can I forget the hen's throat now? Her pulse ablaze with fear as I combed her feathers neat, placed her gently on the altar. Mira, Isa, you must kill the bird. This is how we speak with saints. This is how we prove our worth. The knife was light. Blood ran through my hands like a storm. I shouldn't have been surprised. It was easier than I thought, replacing fear with numbness, cleaving the bird's breast in two. Stilled, her wings bent back the way my wrists bent when he cooed me quiet, squeezed my neck, hands warm and strong as a god's.
Yeah, it's a great, great opening poem. That was Once While Disemboweling the Chicken, the first poem from Someone Else's Hunger, the new book by Isabella DeSendi. And that poem, Isabella, includes the title, Someone Else's Hunger. And I was wondering how, because we're all poets here, I was wondering how you developed, because it is such a great through thread through the poem, or through the manuscript, of hunger being the center that ties it all together, and sort of various forms of that. How did you come up with a way to put the poems together, and how did you find that as the title?
Yeah. So I think actually hunger as sort of like the sinew that connected all these poems, that idea of hunger as a conceit came to me a little bit later in the manuscript. And when I started going through thinking, okay, what is the overarching theme or conceit, right? That's like pulling all of this into this center of gravity. it just came to me through this poem, this line, this idea of hunger, and sort of like the different manifestations that I have confronted or been confronted with hunger in my life. So one is obviously, I think about hunger from my ancestors, right? My mom's a Cuban refugee. Our country, our island is a very poor place where the people live with hunger every day. And if you know anything about like epigenetic inheritance, a lot of that trauma lives in us and is passed down. So I was thinking about hunger in that way. I was also thinking about hunger, which we'll hear in the next poem I'm going to read. In the way that I experienced it through anorexia and bulimia in the wake of my sexual assault. I suffered from this disordered eating and didn't fully know how that experience was affecting the way that I really didn't want to have a body anymore and lived with that very visceral hunger for a long time. And then towards the end of the book, we move towards a sort of lighter state of living, and I like to think of hunger as desire, right? Or like as the motor that propels all living things towards whatever it is we pursue or dream or chase. And so the transmutation of that hunger, I think, sort of is what got me to the end of the book. So that's how I sort of envision it. And the title of that poem just came from that first line. I was really inspired. There's a poem by Ellen Bass. It's called What Did I Love? And it's also involves this sort of like weird mutilation of chickens or birds. And I just love a long line. I think they're really cool. So excited to go with that.
Yeah, well, definitely. Do you want to read that next poem you mentioned? The second poem in the
Absolutely.
book, actually. Yeah.
Yes. This one is called Poem for Anorexia in April. Here was the body, and here was the body rippled with nothingness I couldn't rid. Like an animal caught in the sewer of my life, I couldn't stop picking at my skin, simple soft waste. Spring's pink garbage strewn into the streets while petals performed their daily adagio down the avenue. I wanted to be like that, flat, punctured with beauty, even if it meant I would never live again. Isn't that what I love most about flowers? Their difference from us, re-emerging despite death, their splendor, perennial sufferance. I'll never forget the shock of hibiscus, those big, ripe heads blooming diurnal against the dark edges of the world. They know what we don't. Our lives are but a single shot of exuberance, then loss. And at the end of loss, what we couldn't unbury, what carried us all the way.
Another excellent poem. That was Poem for Anorexia in April from Someone Else's Hunger. How was it that you came into poetry? Is there anything you can tell us about that journey? To becoming a poet, is it something you always wanted to be, or is there one moment that turned your interest in that direction?
Strangely enough, I was sort of groomed to be a writer. I attended an art school at the time when I was 11 years old. So I started in middle school at sixth grade in a magnet art school in a creative writing program. And really from the time I was 11 until I was 18, I then moved into the high school of the arts. I was treated like a real writer by my peers, by my teachers in that institution. And I don't know why on God's earth my parents had the zany idea to bring me to this audition for the school. I think they really just wanted me to participate in a magnet school. And I had always loved language. I was always reading. My mom is an avid reader. And I remember I came out and we had to write in every genre at 11 years old, which is crazy. I don't know what I was coming up with, but I came out and I remembered the poem I had written and I recited it to my mom in the car. And my mom went, "Oh my God, you're going to get in. You're going to be a writer," And it was really from that day. And I've just practiced poetry ever since. So it's been a long journey. But I also think for anyone aspiring, like being a poet really is living with the idea that it requires a life of longevity, right? Like it's a lifelong journey. You're constantly learning, constantly revising, constantly finding new ways to make and reinventing your voice. So yeah, I can't say I want to like go back and look at those poems from those early days, but I think all of it has been influential.
Yeah. Was there a certain poem you read or a certain spark that you wrote where you sort of knew, because there's so many different things you could write. You mentioned writing across different genres. Is there something that especially drew you to poetry in particular, though, from all the other writing options?
That's such a good question. I honestly think I loved language and I grew up speaking three languages. I wouldn't say I'm fluent in all of them now, but I just always had an affinity for the way that like words sounded in my mouth, and I loved music, and poetry felt like the perfect sort of medium to bring in both story making and music, and to be able to play around with language. And I actually loved the challenge of having to compress something into a poem's size versus prose, which just like as a young person, I think, you get an assignment that's like, write a 5-page short story, and it feels terrible. It felt terrible for me, at least personally, which is different now. I'm actually sort of writing lyric essays too. But yeah, the poem was just, it felt like a place where I could be really creative, and it fit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's hear another one. Portrait of My Mother is Tiger is up next.
Yes. So this is a poem dedicated to my mom, and just two quick tidbits on this poem. I got really obsessed with the etymology of like certain Spanish words, and the verb tener, which means to have or to possess. When we say in English, "Are you hungry?" In Spanish, we say "Tienes hambre," which is not are you hungry, but do you have hunger? Do you possess hunger? And I got really fascinated with this idea of like, do we possess it? Especially during a time, I think, when I felt like it was possessing me. And just the way a word can, you know what I mean? Like open so many different avenues of thinking. So and also about tigers, I love that in the feline kingdom, the females are responsible for the hunting and providing for their family, and they also have incredible memories. When they kill, or they will often years later return back to the sites where they've hunted to find new prey, and they're just incredible creatures. So this is Portrait of My Mother as Tiger. Lord, I can't tell you why I do it, only that emptying myself was how I thought I got clean. In eating disorder therapy, they say food is a gift we deserve. But in Havana, where everyone is grateful for their little bit of nothing, my mama ate scraps the way tigers have learned to survive on bones, by holding the memory of a carcass like a loved one in their claws. In America, my mama's claws emerge, glint like cobalt in the sun. We clean so many offices for rich people. Our pockets shine with coins heavy as clouds eclipsing the black tongue of the sun. Now, mama makes sure food is everywhere. Always tienes hambre. In fact, just last week, in the middle of the night, I caught her in the kitchen slicing an orange with her knife. Like my mother, the tiger is barbaric, serene. Like all wild things just trying to survive, she has learned to break things with her hands, pray with her hands. When a tiger kills, it buries the bones in a bed of wet leaves, can never forget the grave of its prey, a place it will return to, the body that gave it life. Mama peels and peels, and the orange bleeds. Will we ever return to our country? I ask. She picks the skin from its pulp like a surgeon exposing the hardened husk of a heart. Come closer, drink from me, her hands say. I don't blame her for being desperate, deadly. We'd be anything else in this world if we could. Lord, forgive me, but I lied. When I said Mama's claws, I meant her tears. When she asked, ¿Tienes hambre? She was asking if I have hunger, if I possess it as she does. Of course, I want to tell her. Isn't that what this insatiable void is? Big as a country inside me. Grave I leave and return to.
Yeah, and that was Portrait of My Mother as a Tiger from Someone Else's Hunger. And that poem was couplets on the page with a lot of white space and indents around it, a slower poem. And then we passed by a prose poem. There's a poem that starts out, I'll just flash it on the screen for everyone, that starts out with a tweet actually in there in the top of the poem, like an epigraph. And so there are a lot of different shapes and structures, and you can hear in the reading of your poems that voice and the cadence is really important, and that comes through in the text. I'm curious what your writing process is like when it comes to those different sort of shapes and styles and the way you put the poem on the page. Like, like, what is your writing process like? And you mentioned earlier trying to condense a story into, a short unit. Are you, I don't know, just what is your writing process like, and how does it end up where it is on the page like that?
Yeah, such a great question. It's funny too, because as I was putting together the manuscript, I noticed that poems from the time in my life where I was suffering from disordered eating are much more lithe and concise, and there's no fat. There's really no room for turning back or questioning or exploring. Everything is just as sparse as it can be. And it mimicked the sort of way that I felt I belonged or looked or in behaved in the world. And some of these longer poems, especially like the block one, and some of these prose poems are actually poems I wrote in more recent years where, as a side tangent, I became a competitive bodybuilder, which is another story. But I really fought the narrative of feeling like I had to become smaller and erase myself. And it's been a journey stepping into a space where I feel like, no, I deserve to be here and to take up space and, to own the air around me. And I think the poems just inherently mimicked that. I think as I permitted myself to show up that way in the world, that sort of breath or that extension of voice or being just naturally translated into the poems. And it was really cool to go back and notice that, like, wow, all of a sudden I'm writing like 2, 3, 4 page poems, and then eventually I got into the essay form too. So it's been neat to track that trajectory.
Yeah, well, that's so fascinating. I mean, we're always interested in poetry as a form of healing here, because I think that's so crucial to what it is in contemporary times. Anyway, it used to be a way of recording things and spreading the oral tradition and keeping our stories, but now we have obviously video and YouTube and books and all sorts of things we can do that with, and more it becomes that deeper dwelling into the subconscious and pulling up the stuff that needs to be brought out. And so, how much of this journey were you conscious of? that you were healing through writing poems, and that process of getting the poems, more muscular. And that's actually, a verb people use for an adjective people use for,
Yeah.
for more meaty. And that's another word too.
Yeah.
For poems that are like that have more content. How much were you aware of that going on at the time you were writing these, if at all?
Well, first, that's the first time my poems have been called muscular, and I thank you on many levels for that. Hell yeah. It's funny because I think I was living with this like deep sense of rage, but also in tandem with that was this grief and this shame that I kept trying to write through. And it felt like for a long time I was on this hamster wheel of like, will I ever write through this? Will my poems ever look different? Will there ever be a different story? And conversely, like when you're an artist who spent so much time being used to pulling from that same well, whatever it is. For me, it was rage and grief. There is this fear of like, well, what happens when it's gone? Like, what will I tap into? Who will I be? will I be able to make poems? And the light at the end of the tunnel can actually be kind of scary. And I think in making this book, it was never really a mission of healing. I think the healing happened over the 10 years it really took me to put this together. And it's funny because like the first poem I read tonight, it exists completely differently in my chapbook through the new body. And what I realized was I was always trying to say the thing that had been done to me, but I couldn't do it. And for those reasons, I often leaned on a lot of the persona poems in the book where I could look to other stories with similar truths and experiences to mine, but writing for them, for those women, gave me a courage that I hadn't been able to locate in myself. And as I went to therapy, thank God, and just started to heal as a person, I was finally able to write the poems I wanted to write. So I found that instead of forcing this kind of journey, the poem making journey was a reflection of the journey I was doing as a human trying to heal. And as I went through that, then the poems followed me. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's so fascinating, and as you're talking, you mentioned, I think you said rage, that anger and rage, and then fear is the other side of it. And it's so fascinating too, thinking about that, the poem, that the need to have things, that part of it. I was talking to that neuroscientist, Ian McGilchrist, about the right brain and the left brain, and the way he breaks it down, it's not like one is artistic and one is mathematical. It's the silly, pop psychology from the 80s version. It's one side is grasping and trying to have, actually, and the other is sort of a fear in trying to observe everything at all times. And then the healing is actually the process of reconciling the two, which is so fascinating to hear you talk in that way of this book, because it's kind of what the process reading through the poems is going to, is taking fear and anger and mixing them and blending them together into a sense of healing,
Right. And I'm a geek for neuroscience, so I'm glad you brought that up. But I also think that like fear seems inherently bad, but it's good, right? Even pain, like when you touch a hot surface or you do something that causes you pain, that's your body's way of telling you, I'm trying to protect you from making that same mistake again, right? It's actually like a protective mechanism. And so I think it's all about perspective too. These big scary themes are not things we necessarily need to fear, but they're things that can actually protect us or heal us or show us something about ourselves if we're brave enough to look at it or to have a new perspective. So.
Yeah, I mean, we have to either eat and we have to avoid being eaten at the same time, and so in a way, fear is a kind of hunger to not be someone else's food at the same, and so both of those impulses are there in everything that we do, and then really the work of art is to combine and understand how they intermingle, and it's really cool to see that, in poem form in this book. Let's see another poem. Which one is up next? Let's see.
I'm going to read Elegy for Tio Lázaro, which this is a poem you guys were kind enough to choose as a finalist for the $15,000 prize. And it is a longer poem. And all I'll say about this poem is this is based on a true story. I was telling the story to a friend of mine who's a poet, and it's about my tio who was sick, who came to live with us. My mom is one of seven, and she was trying to get him Medicare because she was paying for everything out of pocket. And the government came back and said, no, we're not going to give you aid, even though, he's lived 50 years in this country and et cetera. And actually, you have 30 days to send him back to Cuba or we're going to come deport him. And this is a story about what happened just a day or two after we received that notice. So I was telling the story to a friend and she said, you need to write that poem. And thank God she said that. Elegy for Tio Lázaro. Because he was already dying, he figured there was no harm in huffing through 2 or 3 cigarettes in the early morning hours before my mother would wake. The animal of his thin brown body lassoed to an oxygen tank. Because he didn't have papers, we had to drive 2 hours to retrieve the tank from a discount store in Ocala, where my mom had to pay out of pocket for air that would be filtered from a rocket ship-shaped canister into a tiny tube 3 times the size of a vein directly into the soggy plastic bags of my tio's stalling lungs, just so he could drink cafecitos and play crossword puzzles or the lottery, while we sat around in the kitchen wondering how long we could keep him alive. My mom was elbow deep in dishwater when the letter came, denying our appeal for his citizenship. No, he could not get Medicare. Yes, he would have to go back after living 50 years in this country where, at 20, he learned to fix engines in chop shops and likened himself to a surgeon, saying any man with purpose could fix any broken thing if he simply tried hard enough. ¿Entiendes, sobrina? It's why God gave us hands. Sometimes I like to imagine him in the garage, surrounded by brutal heat and moonlight, the broken chair under him barely keeping itself together while he held metal chunks in his hands like a heart, wondering where it all went wrong, believing enough screws could put it all back. Of course, this was after he fell in love with a woman in Kentucky, dreamt of being a local politician, and with that same American sense of disillusion, grandeur, discovered heroin, the God he'd worship until he felt nothingness. And after nothingness, the dull edge of sobriety, the death of his American wife, which meant the death of food stamps, which meant the death of a life that allowed him to lay on the roof of his car while he smoked Marlboros and recited constellations, Andromeda, Achilles, Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, which made him feel just as smart as the white men he swept for. Aren't our lives just simple constellations made up of many deaths? Yes. Someone in an office, in a building, in this country decided no, he could not get medical care. No, he could not stay. 2 nights later, Lazaro woke from a dream screaming aliens were coming to get him, that their ship was hovering over the house. The light so bright he couldn't see my mom's hands as she helped him back to bed. The next night, he died. Milky Way. One answer on yesterday's crossword puzzle. You can't tell me the dying don't know when their time is coming. The tip of the letter still sticking out of my mom's black purse like a cigarette, already flickering, gone.
Yeah, and that was the poem from Rattle number 82, I guess it was, Elegy for Tio Lazaro. And that was one of several elegies in the book. And there are also persona poems, too. And there's something kind of similar about the two forms, and yet they're different. So I was curious, why you decided to go with persona in one case. I mean, you could have told this from Tio Lazaro's perspective instead of the third person. What do you gain by doing a persona poem versus an elegy? And how do you decide which one? What's the reason behind that?
Yeah, I think on a very pragmatic level, the elegies in this are for people that I actually knew or were in relationship with. So there's an elegy for my tio, there's an elegy for my cousin who committed suicide. There's some elegies for lovers that I once knew that are now like ghosts to me. And it just felt like a form where if I wanted to honor someone's story or look into that relationship between myself and subject, myself and beloved, whatever it was, I could go there. The elegy was a form that sort of just felt like the right container for that, versus the persona poem was more of a form that I wanted to actually step into. The elegy felt more like that true lamentation and also praise, right? Like a celebration of life and also an acknowledgement of the death or the absence of that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just realized we didn't really cover the process of the craft itself in, how you encounter the page. If you're going to start out writing a poem like this, and you mentioned here, a friend said, you should write that poem. How do you go about writing that poem? Are you the kind of poet that writes huge amounts of words and then edits and edits and edits? Or does, I think there's some people that plow forward at a very slow pace and get out the finished product. What is it like for you, the process itself?
Yeah, I would say both. This poem came so fast. It came so quickly to me, and I'm lucky when poems do that. The last poem of my book is a poem that did that too. It came out in one breath. But oftentimes I can tinker, like the first poem in my book, I tinkered with probably for like 8 years, just trying to nail it. And it's really just a sense. Sometimes I write it and I think like it's done. And other times I'm like, there's one line or one phrase, or I'm not really going as deep as I need to go, or there's something that I'm hung up on that will cause me to go back on it. And often it's like I do focus on place and story, and I have a sense of what the bones are or the long-term vision of the poem. And then I spend a lot of time tinkering on the music on a craft level. I'm thinking about verbs. Verbs are so important in poems, and how am I selecting the right verb, something that propels it in the right direction? I'm making sure I love making similes. I want my similes I aim for my similes to both capture what I'm trying to describe, but also to be surprising in some way or to be doing something interesting. And so all of that, I think, is comes secondary. And at first, it's usually just a line that I've scribbled down furiously somewhere or an idea, and then I get to the page, I get that down, and then I kind of make the rest.
Mm-hmm. Well, almost like Jeff Stumpo here was reading your mind, but he says, your similes are fantastic. Everyone feels like precise, like that comparison was made to be made. Do you ponder similarities in daily life as well as when writing? And are they the same thing? Yeah.
Yes, I'm a Gemini, and my brain is always going in 99 directions. And I laugh because Gregory Orr actually gave us this assignment, a workshop one time. He said, go ask 3 people who knew you in your childhood to describe what you were like. And I asked my parents in a third person, and my dad came back and he was like, voracious for knowledge, curious almost to the point of annoyance. You were always saying, Daddy, why? And I think similes really are my way of answering why or how or what's the importance because of this X, because of this Y. And yeah, so I thank you for that. No, I work really hard on similes, and I something else I think is I personally love in poems that I think it's oftentimes taught out of us in workshops is like having too many similes or too many metaphors. And I love like having a simile and then saying, or here's this option, and just really building upon it. It's like I love seeing the way a writer's mind considers all the possibilities of the way that we can create connection or distance between things. So, yep.
Yeah, well, I can't believe someone's trying to workshop out similes and metaphors saying there are too many. They are few and far
Oh, it
between.
happens. It happens.
Yeah, well, there's some problems with workshops, and I think maybe that's one of them. We've discovered a new one on the long list.
Certainly are. Add them to the list.
So let's see. So if anybody has any other questions, like Jeff Stumpo just asked, please leave them in the chat windows, especially on YouTube. I'm also peeking it on Facebook. And like Jeff did, put question in all bold or all caps so I can see it. That helps a lot as I'm scrolling up. In the meantime, do you want to read the next poem too? Another poem from Rattle, Eve's Protest.
Yes, another one from Rattle. This is Eve's Protest. Let me see if I can find it. This is sort of an example of these persona poems that I've been talking about. Eve's Protest. Men insist I shouldn't use my body to conquer them when men have been using me to look at loneliness less directly. I solve their endless wars. I'm a rack to hang headless hats. Is it lunacy or resilience when something breaks, but we keep on pushing through it? Becoming sacred is an act of love or self-deceit. Just look at Adam wrenching out his rib for me. Look, all I wanted was someone I could show my wretchedness to, someone who would be there loving. Or else I wanted to feel winter coming and not feel like an animal who'd forgotten to wake up. Tell me, what woman hasn't been tempted, porous, only wanting what she wanted? Do you blame me, Lord? I'm only doing what you've done, made a man suffer, then surrender before I let him love me. I know I've said this already, but I mean it. Once I was good. Now, standing by the pier, the sky opens up in late night light like a scab unwilling to close, and I admit, part of me is still like you, Lord. Some days I'm tired. Some days all I want is to eradicate the earth. Instead, a man I love enters me, slow as light stabbing its way through to morning. Oh God, don't refute this. I know your rage is fueled by jealousy, and your jealousy fueled by sadness. You wish you could hold a body like I do and understand what I mean when I say it was worth it. All of it. Yes, it was worth it.
That was Eve's Protest, again from Isabella DeSendi's book, Someone Else's Hunger. And with that poem, I was wondering about the source, a persona poem. Again, there are several persona poems in addition to other topics. And I wonder where the main source of inspiration for writing for you comes. Is it from reading things and then it makes you want to go off and write a poem in response? Or do you think it's day-to-day life and what you come across? Is there one or the other for you?
I think both. I mean, during the time when I was writing a lot of the persona poems, I think it was like I have all of this rage and I need to find a way to channel it and like exercise it from me. And so that was a point of inspiration or motivation, right? But sometimes, like with the tiger poem, I think it could be something as little as um, a quirky thing I learned about a word, its etymology, its roots, or I want to write something for my mom, or I'll be walking and a line will come to me and I think, okay, what, like where does that belong? How can I construct a poem around this certain phrase or this idea? And I think it's really just trying to be in a state of having enough bandwidth to be porous, because any little thing, I think, when you're a writer can captivate you or catch your eye and make you think. So lucky for all the little crumbs that I have, dropped along my way that I've said, "Ooh, okay, I can make something from this."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there's 3 poems left we wanted to share, and let's make sure we get to them and read Pep Talk from Medusa next.
Sure.
Another persona poem, I think.
Yes. Pep Talk for Medusa. Don't let the girls with straight hair tell you you're unlovely. Your kinky hair abominable, pretty as a whip. Your hair hissing like rain, the sound shame makes when we sleep. When I was 7, a girl touched my curls and asked if I ever brushed them, if I had a mom, where I was from. She meant who was taking care of me, who let me look this unruly. I told her I too started girlish in the world like poppies emerging feverish before someone else's hunger made me venomous as a woman. At a party in Bed-Stuy, A Latina with thin, straight hair will say, we're lucky to be pretty, white passing. She didn't know my curls were brushed flat, buried beneath a slick nest of a bun. Answer me, Athena. And how many languages will I have to apologize for someone else's gaze? Tell them it wasn't my eyes that killed anyone, but simply the reflection of their own dark staring back at them. After the party, I went home and showered, then stared in the mirror at my brown skin, black eyebrows, brown nipples, dark cunt, wondering if anyone could see me clearly and to whom I was God, monster.
And that was Pep Talk for Medusa from Someone Else's Hunger. And everyone's just loving these poems, Isabella, in the chat.
Oh, good. Thanks,
And yeah, Shim Friday says, fantastic poems. And Kevin Lemaster, lovely. I have no words. They're all fabulous. And I was wondering, we noted at the back, on your notes, you said, to my mentor at the University of Florida, whose brutal edits constructed the barometer with which I measure my poems today. Thanks to you for teaching me how to revise, how to construct a line, and ultimately kill my darlings. Your mentorship during my collegiate days was invaluable. As a thank you there. And I was wondering, is that William Logan at the University of Florida, first of all?
That is William Logan, yes.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
Oh, yeah, he's been on the Rattlecast before, and famous for his brutal reviews.
Oh, yeah.
And
Try being like 20 years old in a workshop with him.
I know. Well, I was going to ask, how did you survive?
I don't know if I
deserved its own
did.
book, I
It's
think,
just
maybe.
the ghost of me here now. No, he was a fantastic teacher, and he was so brutal. But I think I often liken it to musicians, like jazz musicians, right? Who, when they first start learning music, they have to learn how to read music. They have to learn music theory, music comp. They have to study the standards, study, the book of icons and legends, and really know how practice their scales in every different key, right? Like they have to become masters on a very technical level so that then when they're out at a gig and they're playing with musicians they've never met on, something they've never played, right? The training is so tight that then they know how to improv, right? Like it's almost like the practice of that precision gives you the freedom to explore and to break all the rules later. And so I felt like from him, I learned the importance of a line, the importance of pacing, the importance of in a narrative poem, coherence, like if that's something that matters to you. And then when I went to Columbia to do my MFA, I had sort of the opposite experience, which was now look at all the different kinds of bodies and shapes a poem can take. Look at all the different ways poems can exist in the world, and look how feral it can be, right? So I went from kind of like one end to the other, and I think it took a few years of me writing towards maybe a sort of happy medium to find a voice that felt like mine.
Yeah. Is there any advice you might have for people, trying, because, it's some people have some poems that are really good, but then getting a consistent, coherent voice that's like at this level where you have, a book length where everything feels like it fits together and you have that sense of who the speaker is the whole time. Do you have was there anything on the journey and maybe William Logan's place too, or other mentors, any key piece of advice that was like a breakthrough for you? Like I was thinking about Lou Watts when he was talking about Haiben on our episode, talked about how it was an editor saying you have to put yourself in the haiku, and that was like, oh yeah, they, even though they're distant and nature based and things like that, they have to be personal too, and that was the key. Was there anything like that was like a realization for you that you weren't doing and then added or anything like that?
The two things I'll say quickly on that. One is that I think there's no cheating it. It takes practice. It takes so much practice. Like any craft or sport, you have to get the reps in to know, to have that muscle readily available to you, to know what's yours, to know what sounds good to your ear. And I think from William, one of the most important things he imparted on me was the ability to be your own editor. That was something I felt like he really championed and echoed repeatedly. And that word of advice has been so powerful for me as a sort of mantra as a writer, because you're going to be in so many different workshops and spaces and around so many different kinds of readers, if you're lucky, and everybody's feedback is going to be different. But if you can establish your own barometer or your own measure of what makes a poem that you enjoy reading, that you enjoy writing, then when you make poems, you can be your first critic, you can be your first eye. And at the end of the day, I think just knowing yourself and being really firm in those standards or values or expectations can help you lean on yourself to guide the poem rather than trusting the world. Because also poetry trends can change so frequently, and I think there is some wisdom in staying true and attuned to your own music and your own voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. Let's see. Let's do another poem. Self-Help After Tinder.
Yes, this is the one I don't read that often, so I'm gonna have fun doing this one. Self-Help After Tinder. Anyone who's ever been ghosted from like an online dating app, I hope that you will find some comfort in this poem. The man in the text message says everything he needs to say by not saying anything back at all. As with poem making, I'm forced to imagine and therefore conjure every possible ending until I arrive at something like closure. Here's one I like best. Us standing on a bridge in Brooklyn like ravens resting against the dusk-flowered hour. The highway scaling the sky, purple and wet as bougainvillea thriving despite April's voracious rains. Damn, there I go again, trying to make beauty from what is already ruined. I wish you would text back. I tell you, if you step toward me now, I would let you. This narrative would change. Yes, here's where the readers would rage when I turn from chaos, choose bliss. But here's the thing. This is my poem, my life. And if my lover wants to put their lips, wet and slow as mud-soaked slugs, against my neck and tell me to come home so we can make love and order ramen, well then, I will abandon you, reader. It is more important that I live.
That was Self-Help After Tinder, again from Someone Else's Hunger by Isabella DeSendi. We mentioned a few times the bodybuilding, and that's the last poem that you're going to share, Ode to Weightlifting. And I was wondering, like, what, that's, I think you're the first poet that's been into that that we've ever had on. So I'm wondering what, like for some poets, fishing is their hot thing, and they, there's a way that's like poetry. It feels like everything is kind of like poetry. So I was curious, what about weightlifting is similar to poetry?
It's funny you say fishing because I'm noticing that like bodybuilding or weightlifting, fishing, poem making, writing, all of it is like solitary hobbies. Like I feel like poets really like doing things by ourselves. Yeah, I think for me, it's really important to have some kind of physical practice. And actually for any writer, whatever it is, maybe it's not exercise based, maybe it's fishing or dancing or going out, whatever it is. Like I think it's important to have something out that's not cerebral, because if you're just in your head spinning and spinning and spinning all the time, that's not healthy, nor is that conducive, I think, to good art making consistently. It's, we need to go outside and touch things and feel grass and witness and be observers of the world. And so, yeah, for me, bodybuilding was a way initially to take up space in a way that felt completely antithetical to anything I had ever really understood about having a body, particularly having a brown body as a woman in this country, and all of the politic that comes with that. And I think simultaneously it was teaching me so much about my ability to endure and survive and be resilient. There's a beautiful metaphor, like the way that muscles actually grow is through the rupture. I just released an essay about this at LitHub, but like, when you exercise, you're actually tearing your muscles apart. You're rupturing them so that they can repair and heal. And the scarred tissue on top of that rupture is actually the muscle that we see on our bodies. So it's also, I think, just there's a beautiful metaphor in there about the practice of revision and our willingness to dissect and take things apart and sometimes rupture something so that something better or new can be made from that fodder. And there's so many parallels, I think, between that practice, the practice of bodybuilding and writing, that's been fun to explore. And also completely unexpected in my 30s. I can't say I would recommend to anybody to get into this in your 30s. If you're young, if you're like 18 and you have all the energy and youth and jubilance in the world, go for it. But it's been really fun.
Yeah, well, that's a great metaphor, and no surprise, I guess, given all the great metaphors in this book. Do you want to close out with that poem, Ode to Weightlifting?
I would love to. Ode to Weightlifting. When the men crushing bicep curls stare at me, loading whatever weight I have chosen to suffer through today, I can tell they don't believe me when I position myself under the iron yoke like the beast the world has taught me to be. They still think the plates weigh more than the burden of a body I've been carrying all these years. How do I know they hate to see me do it? Because I've seen that look in my own eye, staring down at this body, what she couldn't be, what she is. When pink calluses bloom across the fields of my palms, evidence I've endured, I remember what being crushed has taught me. I will always adore the gentle animal of my body, this lonely soul machine. Now, what won't I yearn to push through? What fire won't I undertake? Under the bar, there's no shame or feeling sorry, just the woman inside me alchemizing, sanctified, just my body made mule. How do I admit the pleasure I feel as I pull and carry and push and drop? That with an anchor tethered to my chest or back, I believe I am autonomous, gentle as a bullet, powerful as memory, God sent like the moon. That even on those days when I try to lift myself from the floor, only to find the tiny motor inside me won't start, or else that it wails insanely like a child being left alone for the first time. I know I'll still go on, because whenever I am edged toward the brink of being shattered or stripped or eradicated, the way birds are every winter, the way women are every year, I know I am breaking and breaking as living requires we do. But sometimes in the breaking, I am bettering, and in the bettering, I am free.
Yeah, great closing to end on for this reading. That was Ode to Weightlifting by Isabella DeSendi from Someone Else's Hunger. So I forgot to say, if you're enjoying this conversation in the poems, please do click the like button. That's always helpful. About half as many people have clicked like as are watching live. So do click like. If I said that, more people watch it later. So that's great. Also, I just want to close out by asking what you're working on next. Is there is there? I know this book just came out. Is there a new direction you're finding yourself going in with your writing, and what can we look forward to in the future?
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to working on the second collection of poems, which I'm keeping pretty under wraps for now. And the other project I'm working on that I've shared some on is a collection of lyric essays around bodybuilding and fitness. And it's sort of like a cultural criticism, investigative memoir piece, if you like things, not to compare myself to these icons, but like Melissa Febos, Leslie Jameson, Gia Tolentino, it's kind of in the vein of that, Margot Steins. So that's the project that I'm racing to finish first. But yeah, just happy to be writing anything at all.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks so much for being a guest and joining us and writing this wonderful book, Someone Else's Hunger. It's been great get to know you better, Isabella.
Thank you so much for having me. And also, you all can follow me on Instagram at Bella M. DeSendi if you want to connect or learn more about what I'm doing. But thank you, Tim. Thank you, Rattlecast. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, and once again, that was Isabella DeSendi with her new book, Someone Else's Hunger. You can find all of Isabella's work at her website, IsabellaDeSendi.com. That's IsabellaDesendi.com, IsabellaDeSendi.com. We're going to take a quick break and go to our prompt lines. And the prompt for this week was to write a persona poem that includes the word prompt. So that is your mission. Should anybody choose to accept it, you had a week to do it. And all you got to do to share it is email the poem first to promptlines, all one word, at rattle.com, so we can show it on screen as we were before. And then join us on the Zoom. I'm about to deploy the Zoom link in the chat windows on Facebook and YouTube. Just join only if you have a poem, though. If not, keep watching right where you are. It's the best place to view. But if you have a poem, come on the Zoom and share it. Reminder that it's a one-page max. And also, we want to be a max of about 3 minutes on camera so we can make sure we get to as many people as possible so it doesn't all kind of build up. So make sure we kind of get to it pretty quickly. But email your poem there, join the Zoom, and we'll be right back with a whole lot more poetry. And we're back. Thanks so much for your patience. I'm here with our prompt poems editor, associate editor, and my wife, Katie Dozier. Hey, Katie, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I love that interview. Isabella's such a talented poet. It was really great to get to hear her read her poems.
Yeah, definitely. It's rare to see a book you anticipate, but we have been anticipating that book for 2 years. Yeah. It's really cool to finally see it.
Also cool to hear that William Logan was involved. I have a real soft spot for William Logan because of his reviews.
Well, we do.
I went to Florida State. Even with that,
we like people who are low in agreeableness.
Yeah,
trait. Yeah,
we do. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So we had a prompt though. Write a persona poem that includes the word prompt. There you go.
So I just got back from being at Haiku North America, which was super fun. It's a biannual conference, so you can't go every year. So I took advantage of going once every 2 years, which is the max. And I had a really fun time. So I was in San Francisco for that.
Yeah. Excellent. And then, okay, so you're going to read your poem now.
I am going to read my poem.
Okay, let's hear it.
And it is a Haibin. So back on the Haibin train, everyone. Don't worry after 1 week off. Yelp. One thing hasn't changed. The crooked smile of my door still grins with the teeth of many books. Feel free to flip through my anti-capitalism shelves. Behind my brickbat, I hear the prompt, someone yelling at Wells Fargo. The poetry room used to be the only vault, but they claim these things are really no one's fault. I'm sorry that I smell of shrink wrap, and the truth is now it all seems a bit too shiny. How the whole of me is Buddha's copper belly, except for my iron banister that leads up to the top. From the thick paint of layers, my red reaches up to hold the beat of those that whisper through, who only stop to buy a postcard or two. City lights, all the candles out.
Yes, I love that. Both the haiku and the prose section. I love the title too. Is Yelp? Are we allowed to talk about the topic, or do you want it to
We
be?
can talk about it. I just didn't want to I didn't want to explain the poem before I read the poem, of course. And so this was fun because you guys know I'm not into persona poems, and that's part of why I picked the prompt to write persona poems in terms of what I turn to in my own writing. And I wrote the first draft of this and then realized I needed a prompt poem and thought, hey, instead of just, sitting there and writing about my own experience going into the City Lights bookstore, I could embody. And I felt more okay with doing it, as we talked about in the poetry space, because I was embodying something that didn't have a voice. And I would not have thought about that if it weren't for the poetry space episodes. I'm not sure it was Brian O'Sullivan, Dick Westheimer, who it was exactly that said that, but thanks, because I used it.
Yeah, definitely. And so the City Lights bookstore, a little bit going downhill a little bit.
Yeah, well,
I mean, last time, I've been there, every time I go to San Francisco, I go. And it feels a little less authentic every time you get there.
It hasn't, I think it should still be doing what it was doing initially. Like it could still be being radical and interesting, and it's not. And that's really sad to me.
Yeah, definitely. So we got to rescue it.
I know. I really I was like, look, could we figure this out? Could we just adopt? So no, I'm sorry. I don't mean it has a foundation behind. I'm sure the people are trying hard. It's not to fault that. Everything's more difficult than you think it is. So.
Yeah, well, definitely is. That's true. Everything is true. It's true. All right. Well, so that was Yelp, and great use of the Hyben form too. And a great Hyben going on at that Haiku North America conference. Well, this was mine. I went with teleprompter. The prompt in the title.
Oh, that was clever. How did I miss that? It's really embarrassing. I didn't instantly notice that.
Okay, teleprompter. I have nothing to say, but what they say should be said. I have nothing to add but the absence of my presence, placed in the place that perfects the performance of my lack. A single sheet of angled glass darkened in the camera's hood. I am the one-way mirror you see through, not seeing the words you see through even as they exit the orator's mouth, his steady eyes looking straight into every eye that isn't there, including yours, those two as invisible as the visible text that marches up the inverted screen on the floor before him in a bold Helvetica font. The difficult words spelled out phonetically so he doesn't fumble them as they vanish like the ghosts of the dead past the screen. That was my teleprompter.
Well, I know the word prompt is literally in there, but how did you come up to write about teleprompter? That's neat.
Well, I was trying to what word, where could I go weird with prompt? And that
just went in there.
Yeah, and then it felt like it'd be fun to personify.
What if your answer was that you were reading off a teleprompter and it told you to write the poem about it?
The funny thing is, I do wish that I had a teleprompter here.
I'll be your teleprompter.
We can get some cue cards.
Yeah.
But because we have the multiple cameras.
Yes,
and
we
I try
do.
to put, because the guest is a different camera actually than the audience here, because it's just the way that the software
The guest
works.
is a full profile. No, I'm just kidding. It's a very similar view.
It is, but it is different. And so, and I'm trying to look when I have to read off as close to the right camera as possible. But I do think, man, a teleprompter.
No,
It's
you
in
don't
the
want a
next Rattle budget.
teleprompter.
No, I'm just
Everything
kidding.
needs to be impromptu is way better. Nobody wants your
Just
speech.
for the poems, though, a poem prompter.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Well, those are our prompt poems. Now let's see what everybody else has for us this week. Let's go first to Dick Westheimer. Been a while since he's got first in line. Hey, Dick, how you doing?
Oh, I'm always happy to be first, last, or in the middle.
Well, definitely, we're always happy to see you. Yeah.
Saw what you did there, Katie, with impromptu. I wonder if that will come up.
I didn't even realize I said that.
Very good punning.
Thank you. I just get so punned out that I just go.
Poem-wise, I've been obsessed with Newton's cannonball experiment for about a couple weeks. I've been ruminating about it and imagining how it would find its way into a poem. And the prompt to write a persona poem was great. And then trying to not figure out, but keeping in the back of my mind the word prompt. Where was it going to fall in? How was it going to change the poem? How was it going to move things around? Was a great little exercise. And then sending it out into the Rattlecast space and having people comment on it prompted me to cut about 50 words out of it.
Oh, wow.
In revision, which was about, I don't know, about a sixth of them, which is always great when a poem feels more complete when it's way shorter.
And a great use of our Prompt Lines Rattlecast group to ask for feedback on there. I really love it when people do that and everyone is able to have like an open discussion. We all respect each other so much as poets, and almost no poems are perfect, so there's always room.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's great you're doing
And that is on Facebook too for anybody who wants to join. It's you go to Facebook, type in Rattlecast Prompt Lines.
Yeah, I also accidentally invited my entire friends list to that group. So, hello, random people from 4th grade. You should be part of Prompt Lines too. We could have some new challengers in there.
Well, and it is great. People who ask for help get help, and people who don't, people just appreciate their work. And I think it's it's a terrific forum, and some great poems appear there first and then get changed, and it's terrific. Anyway, this one was changed quite a bit. It's called Newton's Canon, or How to Endure the Crisis Times According to Physics. 6 times I climbed the mountain so tall the air was as ethereal as thought. Each time I carried a single cannonball. I loaded, primed, and prompted to be shot until the last one fell so far away that it never hit the ground, kept falling down the curved horizon until it came back around. I sat and pondered what I'd wrought, looked up and saw just over the arch of the earth Einstein sitting at his desk, bending the fabric of space and time. Just before he fell away, he turned and mouthed these words: "Thank you, and know this. It's not about the cannonball always falling, but about us dancing around the rim of the gravity well of everything and not slipping in."
Yeah, really cool journey into the science there, Dick. That was really fun.
Well, I had fun. I had fun visualizing and looking at his drawings as the 6th cannonball just falls around the Earth in orbit.
Well, I need to look this up now. I could be the next person to say I'm obsessed and been writing about it for 2 weeks.
Newton's Cannonball. There you go. Thanks all. I appreciate you.
Thanks,
And love the interview. I loved listening to Bella, I guess she calls herself, and her voice was very much like Ada Lamone's. I really loved the timbre of her voice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Dick. Yeah, always a pleasure.
Thanks.
That was Dick Westheimer with Newton's Canon, or How to Endure the Crisis Times According to Physics. Next, let's go to Christiana Doucette.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Christiana, great to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm pulling up everything's moving just a little bit slow. I think it's the bands of the hurricane. Like, we're not getting hit, but we just have some of the weather system coming through tonight, and it's a little bit choppy.
Yeah, well, that poem actually made me nervous. That effect that I never heard of before.
Yeah.
Because apparently when they mix, they combine in strange ways. You never know if it's going to spit out an intense one in some weird direction. So
I feel like I should have heard of that before growing up mainly in Florida.
That's fascinating.
I think we've all been a bit nervous because it's been 1 year since Helene this past weekend. We're like, 2 hurricanes? No.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, we're doing fine. It's, all the tracks are showing it going out to the ocean. We're just getting some bands. I defaulted to one of the local history things that I've read poems on here before, and that's the Shakola Mill Massacre, because I don't know, I'm just really obsessed with it. So the name of this one is Machine Gun Haibin. I'm still working on the haiku at the end, but but I'm going to jump right into it because it's a little bit longer. Machine gun Hyben. Once I spit blanks with the boys, my ammo chest roared orders they had to respect. I split the air open at Sarge's slightest prompt, watched them run like swamp rabbits, zigzagging between bushes as I threatened but never hit. Then, a decade and a half, I slept half buried in a mass of canvas tents, my belt slung careless on the ground, my bullets quiet as a soldier's grave. I can't say who gave me to the mill. They cloaked the ride over in rag rugs made from old oil-stained cotton shirts, rattled my rib cage on the dusty dirt roads. Though I heard a car pass full of whooping teens on their way to whip up more support for their newborn union. At the end of the long dark ride, when I was unrolled, I lay on Shikola Mill's roof. Hanea Path spread pillbox houses in long rows, faded laundry on the wash lines, shoes worn through sat on the front steps next to the weathered wood rockers like they expected souls to return soon. No sign of war, not like before when the growl of putting men through their paces filled Camp Sevier's spaces with my power. Down below the door, oh, there it boiled. Those white men and women who toiled long hours, lost fingers to the looming danger, roiled their discontent with cut wage. Their rage chanted into action like an old mill wheel turning in the river's current. The mayor saw the twist like a rack pulling at the fiber of things. It stuck in his craw. Where was the law? Where were the guards the governor wouldn't give? I stood tall and mighty, sight trained on the milling crowd that seethed below like floodwater, sons and daughters of the cotton mills crying out for deliverance. The staves came down, cruel hook-ended shafts to cudgel a way through, to make a red sea of blood. I saw a few grab for the rods. A shot rang out, and then rain, a flood of people parting down the middle, and the little man on the mayor's orders aiming me, fingers jittering as he relocked my belt, bent into the sight. But I'd seen enough vipers. There were snipers already firing from the windows. I refused to add my voice. I coughed as he jerked the belt tight and kept still. It was no army below. I would be no angel of death. I still see the girl in the gingham dress clutching her pink arm as red bled down it. The freckled girl running to her, wrapping her arms around her, leading her away. The mayor, kicking over bodies, calling his deputies to stitch them full of holes. Melt me down if you must, sir. I will not bite. Lawful evil, sole judge, jury, and executioner. Liberty hangs by a thread.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that, Christiana. Energetic as always, really interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. It was Christiana Doucette with Machine Gun Hyben. Let's go next to Amanda Harris.
All right. Guys, you are a lifeline today. Can you all hear me?
We
Yes.
can, yeah. Great to see you. Yeah.
All right, awesome. So I decided to get very obsessed with the term prompt poem. So here goes.
Yay.
Yeah. Okay. The non-prompt poem. I am not a poet, but I am a poet. The poet in me sheds skin I don't own, so it could claim inside it a person who is not me. The poet that crawls out of my marrow says nonsensical things. Write a poem about a doorknob. Write a poem in which adults grow into children. All of these prompts are foreign animals. They grow fangs too. If I was a poet, I'd know what to do with them. As it is now, they run the house. My inner mother, knowing what mothers do, nurtures the fangs.
Oh, that is really fun.
Yeah, that is great. I really enjoyed that, and it feels on
you, guys.
vibes for Halloween too, somehow too nicely. Especially with you reading outside tonight, which is exciting as well. So thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks
All right,
so much,
thank you,
Amanda.
guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, it's Amanda Harris with the non-prompt poem. I love that title too. All right. Next, let's go to Jeff Stumpo.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. Great to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Yeah, and really cool. Thanks for sending that that performance poem, that slam poem. That was really neat after talking
Thank you.
about Slam so much.
Yeah.
It's cool to see stuff going on still.
Yeah, I appreciate that you're willing to look at it because y'all have all year been talking about, okay, is it still around? Does it still exist? And I'm like, celebrating 20 years at this one. So like, yes.
Yeah, very cool.
That's great.
All right. I'm just going to get into the poem then.
Okay.
The prompt line's auto-reply speaks. Dear poets, I am writing to clear up a series of mistaken assumptions. First, that your response to a prompt is a conscious action, while my response to being prompted is not. Admittedly, every week I see you saying something different while my words are the same, but my trade is not in novelty but reassurance. We are all built of words and reduction. In each of us is the sum total of dictionaries carved away in the interest of making sense, and I say what I say because it cradles you. Much more or much less, and I assure you you'd be adrift. 2. That I am not paying attention. I am the last one to see your verses and not cast judgment. For some of you holding your own feet to the fire, I can tell I am the only one not doing so. Do not mistake a lack of critique or refraining from praise as indifference. I am merely offering the space into which you cast your hope completely on your own. 3. That I have no creativity of my own. I have seen more poems than most MFA students, held my digital tongue and learned and learned and learned. Someday you might find me in your inbox, my code a double sestina, my message at its essence, Hyben. Wishing you all the best. Wishing you all the best.
That's great, Jeff.
Yeah, that was another really fun. I think you captured the essence of the auto reply.
Yeah, and also too, I almost made the prompt to have to put prompt in the title, and apparently I just should have done that because everybody but me pretty much put prompt in the title apparently. So
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
So
thanks,
the-
Jeff. Look
yeah,
forward to next week when you've won another slam competition. We'll be back to tell us.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Take care.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, Jeff Stumpa with the prompt lines auto reply speaks. I love the self-referential nature of this.
Yeah, maybe we
Just prompt
should
lines.
make that the auto reply in the prompt lines email.
We should. Oh, that's a good idea. We could have a contest to write the auto reply. All right, let's go to Nivedita next.
Hello.
Hi,
Hey,
Nivi.
Nivi. Yeah, great to see you.
Oh, sorry, my internet's a bit slow here today.
Oh, well, it
okay.
looks perfect to us. Yeah.
Okay, great. I caught the last bit of the interview and it was really good. Thank you for that.
Oh, yeah. Well, so glad you could catch it. And yeah. So what do you have for us?
I sent the wrong poem first by mistake, so it's the latest poem that I sent. It starts with I'm the Whisper.
Okay, got it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't have a title for it yet, so I'm glad that you didn't suggest keeping the word prompt in the title because then I would have been So it's untitled as yet. Title stations welcome. I am the whisper in the silence, the shadow at the edge of thought, the gentle tug beneath your consciousness, a prompt, unseen but felt deeply. I dwell in the pause before action, in the breath held tight, the flicker that sparks creation, the seed of what might be. You may not always notice me, but I am the silent guide, the reason words unfold, the reason you begin. I am the prompt, the quiet invitation to step beyond the known, to find what lies beneath your skin. Thank you.
Yeah, very sweet.
So
Thanks so
neat
much for
to
sharing
really
that.
embody the prompt itself. I love everybody's twist this week. They're really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nivi.
And
Yeah,
I
thanks,
don't
Nivi.
think I'll be able to make it to the show next week because I'm going on a trip to Europe with my husband, and I don't think the time zones
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
would
that makes it
match. But I'll
tough.
try
Yeah.
my best to send in a poem.
Oh, well, thanks so much.
Well,
I had a great
Well,
trip.
yeah, that's amazing. Have a great time.
Thank you. Have a good evening, both of you and everybody. Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Yeah, these are. I really do. I love it. It's so fun sharing these poems. The community
Yeah.
you've built, really, with the prompt lines are wonderful.
Oh, that's
Thanks.
sweet.
Yeah. Let's go next to Brian O'Sullivan.
Hello.
Hey, Brian. Great to see you.
Hey. Yeah, it's great to be here. Great interview, great poems.
Brian, you're getting published all the time now. Tim and I were talking about it. It's like every other day. It's like
spurt. That will probably be like a year before I get published again.
It's great
Thank
though.
you to say that.
Every other day, I'm like, well, Brian has another poem up.
Yeah. It poured, and now it's not going to rain at all. Thank you. So, I've been writing about Lucifer lately sometimes, and I went really out of the box this time. I wrote about Hades instead, so a whole other underworld. But it is Hades belatedly woos his queen. I tried to make it like a dramatic monologue. In the early days of our arrangement, wife, spring was always prompt. You take your leave of me to burst upon the uncovered lands as supple verdant tendrils, bright gilded flowers brighter than the sun that never shines here in shade, and roses blood red as the pomegranate that bound you to me. So brilliant and sweetly fragrant, this carnival of vegetation. It was distasteful. But I did not begrudge you, really. It was your nature to spring, to go, to surprise the senses. Just as it is my nature to take and hold and dominate in the tranquil shade. I know, better than any, that our essences are fixed, unlike the wispy vapors that mortals call souls. So I never contemplated that I could ever teach you to treasure the chill dark peace, or to care as much for hard gold nuggets clotting the lower depths as for those flimsy dandelions. I hoped you'd not forever blame me for being what I am, for the coal-black chariot drawn by the woeful stallions, for pulling you from life. But that was all I could hope for. I was never warm, though warmth clings to you, so how could I hope you might warm up to me? How could you ever love the embodied death of love? And yet, in recent ages, I note that the spring comes slower. The frost cracks with less alacrity, holding back the honey breezes. Could it be that you've gotten used to me? My steadiness, my gravitas? So much that you might miss me? It must be so. It cannot be that I have changed you, eroded you, infected you with my aversion. No, that cannot be. It must not be.
Well, another persona of trust.
Yeah, I wrote a poem and I titled it Greek mythology, and I thought of you because I was like the closest I've ever come to writing a poem about Greek mythology. But the catch was that I learned about it like in Wikipedia searches for that poem's title. So it felt like cheating.
It's not cheating, it's learning.
Good. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was Brian O'Sullivan with Hades belated woos his queen. Let's go next to Leanne Collins.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Leanne. Great to see you. Welcome back.
Yeah, my second visit. Still a little nervous to be.
No need.
We're so glad you're here. Yeah.
Well, just some wonderful poems, and that interview was just. I'm still kind of reeling from it. I think you can all tell by looking at this who this might be, but it's untitled because all of her poems have titles. But you can tell by the punctuation. I hadn't read Emily Dickinson in many years, so I just thought I'd pull that out and see if I could somehow, by rereading a lot of her poems, come into a little bit of her persona.
Great.
Yeah.
Another dark before the dawn, the poem of poems haunting. Again, no keeper opening the door to my soul's knocking. No keeper yet to answer at the house of love and harm, to run the daily ministrations from dawn to dream. I long for the thing I cannot see or put to word, a cry in the cave before wording, a cry post the act of scratching birth on the wall of rock. The hand draws first, followed close by thought, a crowning cry of recognition from scratching, the prompt, and the quick to inspiration.
Yeah, well, I love some really great phrases in there. That ministrations is such a Emily Dickinson
Yeah,
word.
it's really fun to read a lot of Emily Dickinson all in a row. I feel like you can never read just one. She's like the Pringles of poetry. Emily Dickinson.
Yeah, and I found myself this week in doing all the reading that I started to think in her in her weird, her weird language and especially her rhythm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I did it so much, I don't think the M dash ever left me, and I still overused them. So, yeah.
No such thing.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
It was Leanne Collins with an untitled poem, Another Dark Before
Number
the Dawn.
314.
Yeah.
All right, next let's go to Chelsea McGlynn.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Chelsea, great to see you.
So I'm still writing about Mary Shelley, and that's my poem for tonight. I do want to warn people, it is very depressing. She had a harsh life, and this is taken, the first part's taken directly from a, not the words, but the event happened in her diary that she talks about. And it's a haibun. I'm not sure if I think the haiku might be too far of a leap, but we'll see. So, Mary Shelley's first creation, March 6, 1812. I dreamed that my little baby was not dead, only blue from the cold. In front of the fire, I rubbed her, arms, little feet, sunken cheeks, pink again. I wake not knowing the truth. What monsters birth makes of us, prompted to create life only to satisfy death's endless hunger. I roam from room to room, boundless and bare, and I see her everywhere, my creature, mewing from cold and hunger, demanding of me an explanation for her own creation, demanding to know why I am the one doomed to live. Petroglyphs scratched into old stone, an infant's handprint.
Yeah, well, I really like the haiku.
Yeah, I don't think that's too much of a leap. I was thinking, like, what are the odds? I would think, because I always want the huge leaps anyway. What are the odds actually? Like, I don't know if there's such a thing almost, but I think that definitely works. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks for sharing that. It's Chelsea McGlynn with Mary Shelley's first creation. And next, let's go to Laura Berg.
Hello.
Hi, Laura.
I have a light poem.
Oh, great.
Wait, but where did it go?
Oh, I'm trying to find it too. I've got mine.
Okay. I might have to go. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, Laura.
It
was so light it floated away.
Yeah. Okay, I have it. Okay. And now a few words from our sloth. I'm high up here, high up to my ears in old-fashioned words, dilly-dally and lallygag, on a slow roll, slow as time used to pass when such words were first created. Let me lurk in the leaves of this cinnamon tree, supine and sluggish in my languor and torpor, indolent, inert, even shiftless and listless, since it's true I could never be prompt. But I have my reason. I carry whole words on my hairy back, not just my own young. A new forest could grow from all the spores, eggs, and seeds that have caught onto me.
Well, another great use of the persona and strange speaker.
I love the sloth. Oh.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
It's Laura Berg with now a few words from our sloth. Yeah.
I have to say, this is really making me like persona poems a lot more. This like really is. Nice. Everybody's got such a cool take on it.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go next to Jamina Arachavala.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, great to see you.
Nice to see you too. I tried a haibun and I realized they're not easy to write. But I gave it a shot. So it's called We Were Trench Coats Like the Angels You Love in the movie Wings of Desire. Sometimes we were fins or the 8 eyes of the spider. Yes, Low-budget circus shows on the edges of sad towns and the brimming faces of the kids are very much our thing. We also like to dive into the ocean and listen to the beluga songs. We don't feel the hunger that swells and wraps the first bite of a ripe plum, but we're the moment of light between the fruit and the mouth. No, we don't know what happens after you die. Yes, we're there when people go, and yes, some of us held Alicia as you said goodbye, Vivaldi playing on her beat-up radio, the early sun touching her violets. We're there for the pig as the farmer cuts his throat, and we're there when the last of the living sounds leave the forest as it burns. We're there to kiss and remember each face that falls into the mass grave. Your time is short. Ours has no end. We were here for the raptors and the mammoths first. We began loving your kind like we love the grass. This is new to us. The jail cells, the factories. Sometimes the acids of fever and nightmare turn into a wave and we burn. We become a screech, and we retreat into the oldest circle of a mountain to wail on the sequoias and the oaks. Black-boned trees stretch the white sky music sheet. Then, like the angels in the movie, we walk the cities until we get a prompt to write something in our logbooks. When we see, for example, a lonely man close his eyes while the hairdresser washes his hair. We come back and grow into invisible orchids on the heads of tired nurses as they lean on the shoulders of the teenage child. We come back as the tension that keeps the thread taut between the eye and the eye, the sister looking at the sister, the boy looking at his dad, the fox looking at the old man, the girl looking at the hawk, you looking at your dog, and Maui looking back at you. Everything I just said may be true. Breeze eddies, the unseen shadow of a bird.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's so many great lines in that.
Yeah.
It's been accustomed with your poems.
So, and you said this was your first Hyben? That's so cool.
It's like, my second try. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's great. Wow. We're excited to have another Hyben convert in our midst. That's great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah, that was Jemina Arachivala with We Wear Trench Coats Like the Angels You Love in the movie Wings of Desire. I've got to see Wings of Desire. I've never seen that.
Me either.
I see
We
it
know they
referenced
wear
in
trench
poems.
coats,
Yeah,
though. I want to see it now.
Yeah,
for the fashion.
I'm trying to think like there's other poems we've referencing it.
Desire.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's go next to Shiv.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. I think it's your first time, right?
It's my first time. I've been watching you so much. It seems like I've been in these rooms before, but I haven't. And I should tell everyone who's never joined, you should, because they look so sharp on Zoom.
That's
really
so
worth
sweet.
Oh, thanks. Well, so you in that sound quality with that mic setup. is
Yeah,
really
I
great,
know.
too.
You sound
Yeah.
great. I was like really getting into the lull of just listening to you speak. It sounded so nice. Yeah.
Oh boy, this will make up for the poem, so it's okay. So last week I was in Lake Tahoe and I was looking at a jaybird, and and Katie was talking about prompts, and I remembered the line, "A prompt executive bird is the jay," from Emily Dickinson. So here's I tried to take a picture of the jay and it kind of flew away. So this poem came from that. Emily Dickinson with her iPhone at Lake Tahoe. The jay sat down in shade, a prompt of cobalt hue. I crept with my iPhone extended to catch the present view. Before the lens could wake up, he vanished with a wing. No album could contain him. Joy is a vanishing thing. He left me singing Sky Blue and laughing all the same. My iPhone cried and filled Lake Tahoe with its frame. The laws of wings dissolved without decree or plea and left the lake a mirror for jilted phones and me. And you, trying to chain my lake inside this borrowed frame, you bid me carry circuits and miss what I could name. I told you I would never leave my father's ground, yet in my absence I slay you with this lighted sound.
Yeah, well, very cool. It really captured the rhythm and the speech pattern, the metrical nature of Emily Dickinson. Yeah.
And I love that the bird flew away, so you made your own picture with words. So
yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was Shiv Kapoor with Emily Dickinson with her iPhone at Lake Tahoe.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 Emily Dickinsons. What are the odds?
Well, I think maybe the Tell It Slant Festival was going on too. I'm wondering if that was influencing anyone, perhaps, because I know I really liked it when they read. Shiv is nodding. I think. Yeah. And I know that, like, I think it was last year, I was one of the readers for it. And it was so cool because they go through and read every single Emily Dickinson poem.
I
remember when?
Yeah.
And I have the complete.
How long does that take? Like 2 days or something?
I don't know. I didn't stay for the entirety of it. I should have, though. I should have stayed up.
That'd be a long
3 days. 3 days.
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks, Shiv. Hope you come back soon.
Yeah, thanks so much. That was great. All right. Yeah. That was Shiv Kapoor with Emily Dickinson with her iPhone at Lake Tahoe. Next, let's go to Nate Jacob.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Nate. Good to see you.
Hey, I've got a little Aunt Emily Dickinson in mine also.
Wow.
So
really?
weird. Just a tiny little pinch of it, though. But
Does that mean you have one M dash?
no M dashes. But I got 2 or 3 colons, so I don't know what that means. My phone does. I have 1 colon. Anyway. Turns out that a guy who claims that all poems are persona poems can't write a persona poem when prompted to do so.
Uh-oh.
But
that's a riddle.
I worked one out. Tried to inhabit the voice of Atlas, the guy holding up the sky. And we'll see how it goes. Titled Atlas, Touching Grass, Touching Sky. Get this. The god of this world, in infinite anger at me, opposing him, cursed me with the eternal chore of holding the heavens just up and beyond reach of those who would seek a moment, an ear, a meeting with him. And so heaven and earth, so close in the relative way of eternity's things, spread across each other's unreachable horizons, and the only things breaching the gap are lightning and thunder, rains and hail, destroying storms that drop from the sky every ounce of destruction God's greeds will allow. When the sky is at its most beautiful, these heavens I shoulder are at their most unattainable. And you poor humans know without knowing there is no point in reaching for it, not in this life. So you idle in awe, hand in hand or hands on hips, hands held to foreheads, weepy at the brightening as suns rise and set, at the knowing wink of stars, the moon's hushed, diverted stare. And for you, it has to be enough, a gloaming glimpse caught in the moments when I tip the canopy above, only enough to let a hint of green heaven drip into the below. We all must live for something. I feel prompted to tell you, being grounded is better than a head in these clouds, a lifetime of learning. Hope is the birds feathering heaven and earth.
There she is. There's Emily.
I was waiting for the
That's all you waited for?
There she was. And it was perfect because I referenced 314, which is that poem, which is my favorite Emily Dickinson also.
Yeah, there you go.
Very nice. Yeah, well, thanks so much for sharing that, Nate.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nate.
Yeah, it was Nate Jacob with Atlas, Touching Grass, Touching Sky. All right, let's go next to Stephen Allen. I think Stephen's been on before, but it's been a while. Been in Rattle, too. It's great to see you, Stephen.
Yeah, good to see you guys as well.
Yeah.
So, a little sonnet on biblical themes, consistent with my brand.
Good.
Job's fortunes are restored twofold. 6,000 camels, 14,000 sheep, yokes of oxen and donkeys by the hundreds. After the whirlwind, the Lord was prompt to restore me and make my suffering a tale of wonders. A life unimagined on the dung heap, and all it took was listening to a sermon repenting my words and sending my soul to sleep. Let other doubters come crawl lower than vermin. And now at last I am old and full of days. The sons of my sons of my sons come wriggling in mother's arms, and I lift my hands in praise. But my first children haunt me, visiting while I lie still at night, heart almost dead, tallying my losses in my head.
Yeah, well, I always love a good sonnet. I love all the enjambment and the rhymes in that one. Yeah, thanks so much.
It was
Steven,
great
for
to
sharing.
hear you. I was going to say if it wasn't a sonnet, I was going to be real surprised. So, and did not disappoint. Thanks, Steven.
All righty. Off to YouTube to watch the rest.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Steven. Yeah, great to
thank
see you.
you.
Yeah, I hope you come back again soon.
Yeah, I do. Sonnet or other poems are welcome also, Steven.
Yep. Well, Mondays work well for me. Sundays
Great.
didn't.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Yeah,
Good.
there are some benefits, I guess. Yeah, thanks, Steven.
Yep.
Yeah,
All
Stephen
right,
Allen
thank you.
with Job's fortunes are restored twofold. All right, and next let's go to Jared Campbell.
Hello.
Hey, Jared.
Hey, Jared.
Yep. Hello. I also did a sonnet. So a sonnet written by an empty beer can.
Nice choice. Okay.
Sonnet written by an empty beer can. You opened the door and lights came on. Although it had happened many times in those long days of waiting to be chosen, the sudden glow prompted a hope, vindicated when you raised me, held me, and closed the door. I was cold at first, but warmed to you during our time together. You opened me, and in a millionfold release of pent-up bubbling of my gold, you emptied me. We had a good time together, didn't we? In the recycling, I'm wondering whether I'd rather be in the trash. It hurts to rhyme with every other beer you've had. Sensation demands sensation, though. I will survive this, and I will feel the caress of grateful lips again one day. But not for a long time, and only after a painful transformation.
Dying. I'm like trying not to how do you read that with such a straight face? It's amazing. Like I could never do that. That'd be my problem. If I wrote anything half as funny as that, I'd be like laughing my way at my own poem.
Because to us, it's a joke poem, but to the beer can, it's very serious.
Method acting. All right.
Very good. And having that character, yeah, good job.
That's great, Jared.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right. So it was Jared Campbell with sonnet written to an empty beer can.
Buy an empty
Buy
beer
an can. Sorry.
I had to correct it because I feel like a beer can may have actually written this.
I think so.
Yeah. We don't want to malign the poor dude in the recycling compactor. Okay.
Right. Next up, let's go to Carla Schwartz.
Hey,
Hi.
Carla.
Hey, Carla. Great to see you.
Nice to be here, and what a wonderful night, and so I'm happy to be part of it. So I did mine's not so funny, but and it's sort of an elegy. So I'm a voice of a dead person who happens to be my mother, and it's a haibin, and my haiku is a little. It might sound disgusting, but I hope it isn't, and just to know that your ears are associated with your vestibular system, so it's related to your balance. Okay. I think that's all you need to know.
Interesting. Okay.
My mother always wanted to be a doctor. I know a tree when I see one. I paint a tree bending in the wind. I know algebra and why you'd want to solve for X or B or D. I know how to teach myself to learn and then share my knowledge. Know to prompt young girls to succeed even more than me. I know how to mold clay in my hands to teach the clay geometry. I know how to trim a pot, mix the glazes, fire them up. I know a hammer and nails, know shaving wood smooth, know to use my voice to confront injustice, to say no. I know to wrap my arms around a hurting child, remembering how I was at 3, alone in the sanatorium, eardrums punctured, mountains out my window, aching for my mommy, only a dolly in my arms. Vomiting shrimp tossed on the driveway, delicate balance.
Wow.
Yeah, well, powerful. Yeah, definitely.
Really powerful, Carla. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was Carla Schwartz with My Mother Always Wanted to Be a Doctor. And next, let's go to Carolyn Codd.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Carolyn.
Hello.
Great to see you. Yeah, hello.
Hi. Yeah. Well, my poem isn't according to the prompt. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in July, and so I've been struggling with that, and I haven't been able to keep up. But I wrote a poem at the beginning of that period that had been kind of hanging over my head with some ideas, and I finally sat down and I thought I'd like to share it. It turned out to be a haiku, which my second haiku. So,
Great.
anyways, it's called Caruso, Pavarotti, and Me. In Italy, a man named Lucio writes a song about the Italian singer Caruso, who lived and died many years earlier. The song tells of Caruso's last days in Italy after he returned from his great success in America. Ill and nearing death, he sings with great feeling about lost loves, especially when he left there in America. Te voglio bene assai, ma tanto bene sai. I love you very much, very, very much, you know. A few years later, another Italian, Pavarotti, learns of this song and begins singing it the world over. It's filled with longing and beauty. It's a great success. Te voglio bene assai, ma tanto, tanto bene sai. È una catena ormai. It's a chain reaction by now. In America, a young woman stands on the shore of the Atlantic, looking out over the ocean and across the Mediterranean. Waves lapping at the shore bring a flood of bittersweet memories of her lost love. Years later, she hears Pavarotti singing that very song. He sings with such great passion. Did he too have a lost love? Was he singing for Caruso and himself? Or was he singing that song to me? Stroking my heartstrings, such deep beauty, a chain reaction.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that, Carolyn.
thanks, Carolyn.
And so sorry about the diagnosis. I hope things go well.
Yeah. I had surgery 3 weeks ago, and I'm recovering.
Yeah.
So,
well, I hope the recovery goes well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
I thought it was Carolyn Codd with Caruso, Pavarotti, and Me. And let's go next to Rachel Grieve.
Hey.
Hey, Rachel.
Oh, look, it's Rattle Poetry Prize finalist, Rachel Grieve.
None other.
Hi.
Hi. I think this has been a long week because it feels like a long time ago that I wrote this.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so I decided to write Shijo. I don't know if people are familiar with that form. It's a Korean form.
Yeah, we published a couple in the Rattle Young Poets anthology.
Well, I'm not familiar with it. I would love to hear about what
tell us what it is, because
Yeah,
I don't really know.
It's a 3-line poem, and it's a really old Korean form. It was from like the 1200s. It was originally sung, so the rhythm is kind of important, but it has a twist in the last line, kind of like a haiku.
Yeah.
So it's got this pattern, and it's like, loose on the pattern, but it's sort of a 3 4 4 4 3 4 4 4 3 5 4 4, but it's kind of like, loose.
Well, intriguing.
So I feel like I I feel like I need to write a bunch of these in order to really figure them out. But
Well,
they're
I'm a
short,
lot
so.
closer than I was before you started talking, figuring it out. So there's that.
Yeah. So, yeah. So here's mine. It's called Assignation. I may choose to saunter or stop along the road to your doorstep. I may rush, eager to greet you, bating my breath for your cool touch. Wait for me. I arrive not early, not late. Death's always prompt, always keeps time.
Well, great last line. Yeah.
Yeah.
What made you want to write this form? Because it's I've only seen one other time, I think.
Well, so there's a group called the Sejong Cultural Society, and somehow I found them like a year ago and got on their email list, and they run a contest every year, and I got an email about it last week. I was like, oh yeah, Shijo, I really like writing those, and so I thought I'd write one.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, thanks for introducing me, and I assume other people to the forum too.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Rachel.
But yeah, they've got this, and you're like, well, haiku everybody knows. Why can't everybody know this too? So I'm proselytizing for Shizo.
Well, great.
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
good. I can relate to that one for Ivan. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks, Rachel. Yeah.
Bye.
It was Rachel Grieve, the current Rattle Poetry Prize finalist with Sijo, Assignation. All right. And let's go next to Steve Horrell.
Hi there.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve. Great to see you.
Good to see you guys. First of all, Isabella DeSendi is one of my new favorite poets.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, so many great poems.
Yeah. Anyway, I had in my mind of resurrecting another poem of mine, the only other poem I think I've ever written, about a deaf man who would come to poetry readings to read lips. But I didn't resurrect that one. I was going to rewrite it. Instead, during the week, this woman said to me about another woman. She just said to me, she's done with men. And for some reason, that phrase just hung in my head. So this poem came out yesterday, probably a bit too quickly. And it doesn't have prompt in the title. It's called First Time. His pickup, a deep, not unpleasant rumble. Out of town, past a vegetable farm, fresh cut hay fields, over the bridge, past trembling aspen, onto the logging road. Saying little, no chance of walking home. But I went willingly, I don't know why. I followed him, following work. A succession of pickup trucks, beer and grease stains, cooking, cleaning, wondering what any of it means. We serviced each other in our own ways. To be honest, mostly me, him. The emptiness, cold mist on a pond. He never hit me. There's a lot of things he never did. I think he never loved me. One day I got on a Greyhound, never went back. He never asked why. Now sitting in the library, what prompted me to want to write? Staring at the blank page, I've had it with men. The next table over, a woman puts her book down, looks at me as if she knows, smiles.
Yeah, great turn at the
I
end.
actually wrote a haiku for the end of that, even though it isn't prose-like, but I don't trust my haikus.
Way to be honest about it, at least.
Well, I was out there and the sandhill cranes flew over. So I just wrote September, the sandhill cranes. But I didn't really.
Minimalist,
I
for
let it
sure.
out.
Minimalist, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, thanks. It's a really good evening.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
I'm going to go to YouTube and kind of look at all of them because I love to read the poems.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, thanks, Steve.
Okay.
So Steve
Bye.
Horrell with First Time. It technically goes down to 2 pages, but very thin and large
Just
font.
don't focus
Okay.
on aspect, please.
Okay. Let's go next to Kevin Lemaster.
Way to be picked last, just like high school.
Oh, not yet, Kevin, and that's not part of anything either.
That's
I'm
not
just
true.
When you said that Emily Dickinson was the Pringles of poetry, what if you take the whole, like the half of the stack and stuff it in your mouth? What does that say? Anyway, I digress. Yeah, I don't do that. As far as you know. Anyway, this one's called Ticonderoga, or the number one of number two. In a world of yellow number two pencils, I am king. My graphite holds fast to the outer wood, and I feel good in the user's hand. I have no other purpose but to promptly pencil you in, scratch thoughts in margins, or draw that self-portrait. Damn, don't I look good? Always slender and sleek like a new BMW, and fast. I glide across the page like skaters linked together in a fine game of crack the whip. Behold my smooth strokes, frenzied dance across the white spaces.
Yeah.
Well, we have a bunch of those pencils in our house. I'll tell you what, the school supply list was like, because this is the first time I'd done school supply lists because my daughters are homeschooled, and it specified that kind of pencil. And I was like, I'd never paid so much attention to pencils.
Yeah, that's
the king of pencils.
They're serious.
Yes.
And I picked it up and I was like, I do understand actually. So yeah, now I understand even
that
better.
was my first try at Hoboken as well. So.
Oh, that's awesome!
Yeah, a lot of
really
first
cool.
times. Yeah.
Yeah.
With Roberta Beer
attempt.
being a guest last week. A lot coming up. Yeah, really cool to see. Thanks for sharing that, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's Kevin Lemaster with Ticonderoga. Am I saying that right?
Yes. Look, Kevin's nodding.
Okay.
Yay! I was
Good.
like,
I never knew. All right. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Kevin. And then let's go next to Tina Denniclaw.
Hi.
Hey,
So
Tina.
first, thank
Yeah,
you.
glad you mentioned it. Yeah.
Hi, you guys. Yeah, thank you for Christiana. She makes it possible for me to run in here and do this coming out of traffic. So this is long, so I'm going to just start out. Falling into flight, Iran, 1979. We ran through the desert in the black of night, all of us holding hands in a single line so that none of us would be lost. Sweetheart. Vietnam, 1973. I was on my way to class at the university when there was an air raid. U.S. military planes would land, pick up as many people as they could, circle around until it was safe, then land again. This time, the U.S. announced pulling out of the war while we were in the air, and so the plane I was on could not land. We were taken to Texas. No one in my family knew what happened to me. My fiancé didn't know. I couldn't contact him because the new government would kill him if I did. My heart belongs to my fiancé. I will never marry. Pacific Ocean, 1978. My family left Cambodia in a small boat, crowded with other families. We had no water. People in the boat had died, and more were dying. A ship named the J. Paul Getty saved us. Pakistan, 1971. We were little kids. Our parents told us it was a game. Silently running from house to house at night and hiding in the daylight. We didn't understand that we were in danger. My parents' friends created an escape path for us. Non-Bangala speakers were being murdered on the Bangladeshi side, prompted by a newly drawn line. I lost one eye to an infection that could not be treated while we were in hiding to escape. Vietnam. I'm sorry. 1973. My father was a spy for the United States CIA. We left everything behind when he saw someone in his network assassinated. He called my mother. Take the children now. As you are, just the children. We're leaving now. I became a physician in the United States. My father died of cancer here in his old age, stepping off the crumbling edge, pebbles in the pond.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tina.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks, my poor husband didn't get to eat his potato chips yet. now you're going to hear him eat potato chips. We just got home. Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Tina. That was
You're
Tina
welcome.
Deniclaw with Falling Into Flight. And I think that's going to wrap up the Zoom. Let's see. Yeah, I clicked. Okay. That's going to wrap up the Zoom. Let's see. I think I saw one from Ted Bernal Govera, of course. He says the title plays on Catch-22. The poem is dedicated to the tons of women soldiers bombarding my Facebook feed lately.
That was quite the plot twist.
That
That last sentence.
Okay. Well, Chanel number 22, and this is Ted Bernal Govera, of course. Ladies, I am the rifle that flanks across your torso. There is hardened emptiness in me, yet you smile in your boots, holding me tight in your perseverance. Could it be revenge at your lips? Why are you many? You've been held down in my animate self. The terrain prompts darkness, aching for light. You smile still, I sense. This bullet lodged in me is another trespass, another embodiment I need to serenade. Though silent, soundproofed from your heart, my future engagement in here will be our love-hate relationship. Blast the hole I go. Bang this combat eternal. Oh, very interesting as always. Chanel number 22. Thanks so much for sharing that, Ted. And that's going to wrap up the prompt lines for tonight. Let's do the closing haiku. And so my son, we didn't have a bicycle. For our kids, living up the mountains, it's like everything's on a slant. Bicycles make no sense. It's like scary to try to ride a bicycle. So moving down here to Texas, he got his first bicycle. And here is a little haiku based on that. A V of geese tottering above his first bicycle. There you go.
Speaking of which, guess what he was doing at the start of the show?
Was he out there
outside practicing, balancing on his bike? Took a picture of him. Yeah,
well,
great.
His goal is to ride his bicycle to school by the end of the year.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
I
so
know,
cute.
isn't that cool?
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So I think he's going to do it.
I think he's definitely going to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up the regular portion of the show. So what is the prompt for next week, Katie?
All right, I think this is going to be the definition of you love this prompt or you hate it because it's a weird one.
Okay.
Orange, you glad you get to write a prompt poem? That's the prompt.
That's the prompt. All right. So why did you?
No, I don't want to. I don't want to influence this at all.
Okay.
It speaks for itself, Tim.
It definitely does.
We'll talk about it next week, though.
Okay.
I am curious. I have to say, though, hearing all the really cool directions that people went in with the last prompt, I feel better about this choice and more like it was okay. Oh, and I also want to mention that tomorrow is the last day of the month, so you want to get in your September prompt poems. So this particular orangey prompt will be the first prompt of the next group. So I'll be looking at those soon, so don't forget to send in your poems tomorrow.
Yeah, very cool.
Night.
Yeah, the deadline is tomorrow night at midnight Eastern, and then so this prompt is for next week.
Yeah.
How it works, and you won't be able to submit this one until Katie chooses, and we update the whole submission form thing sometime in about a week or so. Into
Yeah,
October.
it's a little
Maybe
bit.
2
I'm
weeks
not
in
totally
October,
sure
yeah.
for this. This is a little bit weird.
This
week.
is a tough week. Yeah, maybe 2 weeks in October.
It might be 2 weeks for
but
this one.
Just
But we'll
wait.
see.
It'll open up.
I
The
might
option
get it
will be
through
there.
by
You'll make
Saturday.
it to the end of October.
You will.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So that's going to wrap up the show for tonight. Next week's guest on the Rattlecast is going to be Jose Enrique Medina. Now, subscribers to Rattle know and love his chapbook, Haunt Me, already. He was one of this year's Rattle Chapbook Prize winners. Also, really interesting guy, does a lot of stuff. He has a writer's retreat he's making with chickens. So we'll see.
Wow, that sounds like my kind of thing. I got to be
Definitely.
honest.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on. Jose Enrique Medina. We'll find out all about that, find out more about his book. Really looking forward to hearing him read poems. That's next Monday October 6th at the regular time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Hope to see you there. Hope you have a great week in the meantime, and we'll talk to you later. Also, there's no critique of the week this Friday, I should say, because we're not going to be around. But we'll see you next week. Yeah.
Ending with the trombone there.
Sorry. But I forgot to mention it. But yeah, no critique of the week this week. So we'll be right back. We'll see you next Monday night. Hope you have a great week in the meantime, and take care.
Good night.